Hi there, this is Jimmy Roberts. When it comes to the game of golf, there is no place on earth like the metropolitan area. It's always been a special place for the game of golf and also for golf writing. Some of the most esteemed and accomplished journalists covering the game work here. Now, you'll get a chance to hear them right here on the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association podcast. Enjoy.
All right, welcome to the Met Golf Writers Podcast, and today we are pleased to be joined by the Director of Agronomy at Bethpage State Park, Andrew Wilson, and Bethpage Black Superintendent, Mike Hadley. Gentlemen, thank you for joining the program. We really appreciate you carving out a piece of your day for us.
No problem.
I know I was there just recently. It doesn't seem like there's a lot going on over there. It's very quiet at Bethpage State Park. What's happening over there?
The biggest build out we've ever seen. It seems like, and it's not close to being finished yet. It's just like every day there's a new structure and or something's getting taller. The big grandstand behind 18 green and 1T is going up now, so that's really cool. The opening ceremony stage is going up. That's awesome. Just build out after build, and it's affecting all 5 courses here at Bethpage as well. So. The blue course was holding on, but now even number 1 of the blue is a temporary tee now.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but I really would like people to get to understand who you guys are, and some people who will be listening. We do have a lot of local listeners, and watchers on YouTube. But if you, both of you, at some individually, can just take us through a brief description of your career paths and how you ended up at Bethpage. Just so people get to know who you are.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'll go first. I started here in 1989. Actually, I was 17, so I was working. I grew up fairly close in Bethpage and had played golf here a little bit as a teenager. Hit all the local courses, all the municipals, Caniac, Eisenhower. There was a little 9-holer in Dix Hills. I mean, I remember Hill and Tree, a little 9-holer down Round Swamp Road was a fun little course to play.
Yeah.
And then Bethpage is always special because it was, bigger, more challenging. So then in 1989, I just got a job here in the summer. And actually, my first job was on the tennis courts. We used to take care of the clay tennis courts and the hard true courts over there. And then that kind of every other job in the park for a couple of summers, starter, ranger, sold tickets. I was a cashier for like a year. I could work in the office and do that stuff too. Went back when the front office was at the center of the clubhouse, and there was no car line then. The overnight line was like right outside the front door. I even did night watch a few times. When the guy called in sick, I'd stay overnight and do the night watch.
Wow.
And then in 1994, I was going to college and I got an English degree from Fairfield. Wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with it because I liked working at the park, at the golf course. And then right around the same time as when Dave Catalano got hired as the park director. Mm-hmm. And he sort of had more of a golf focus, which was nice. The previous director was a little more maybe not as golf savvy as Dave was.
Sure.
So there was an improvement there. And then the big change, the sea change at Bethpage State Park happened in 1997 with the announcement of the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
So that was the big change. And then internally, the convenient, fantastic break for us was that the old superintendent retired, and that's when that led to the hiring of Craig Currier, who really kind of changed the place, and that sort of led to some career options where I ended up going to Rutgers, and Charlie Riedlinger, the superintendent of Montauk Downs, basically in the same boat. We started like a week apart from each other, and so in the middle of 1997, as soon as Craig started, they kind of tapped us from the operations maintenance department. They both put us in golf maintenance, and so we spent a couple of summers, a couple of seasons on the Black till about 2000 to 2001. Then I became the superintendent of the green course and would kind of serve as Craig wasn't a big paperwork guy, so I would usually take care of some of that stuff on the back end, which was good, meeting all the sales reps and things like that. It's kind of helps seeing that other side of the business and getting to know a lot of guys. And then, basically kind of, working my way up until 2010 when Craig left. And then I took over for Craig when he went over to Glen Oaks.
How about yourself, Mike?
So my story is I'm from Pittsburgh originally, and
Okay.
my first job was at a golf course, being the cart boy. Getting them out in the morning, cleaning them up at the end of the day, and I went to school, got for accounting for a year, and
Mhm.
then still worked at the golf course. Talked to the superintendent, who went to Penn State, and kind of switched schools, switched over, went to Penn State, got a 4 year degree in turf grass, and during that time, I did some internships, and I have two cousins out here on the island, so I have some family out here, and they're both they at the time were both superintendents or assistant superintendents, and I went to work for my one cousin at Century Country Club
Sure.
around 95, 96, and he was friends with Craig, and actually came down to Bethpage when Craig got the job and moved in, and I saw Bethpage then and couldn't believe it was going to host the U.S. Open, and it was so. But I met Craig and kind of had a connection there. He's a big Steeler fan. I'm from Pittsburgh, so kept in touch. I did a couple more internships, and then finished school. And the next day, I think I drove out here in 2000 and started working here. Did
Uh-huh.
a few summers on the Black leading up to the U.S. Open. I wanted to be part of that first U.S. Open, and thought I would go back to Pittsburgh. But then the superintendent Charlie of the Red Course went out to Montauk, took that job, and Craig offered me to go over to the Red and be the superintendent over there.
Hmm.
So I did that, and ended up, you know, then life happens. You meet a girl, you have kids,
Yep.
you're kind of on Long Island. So did that for 10 years on the Red. And then in 2013 came over to the Black.
Mike, I don't know if people truly understand, especially people who are not from the island or in the Met area, how much golf Bethpage Black gets. Can you give us a little context of how much play it gets?
Well, if there's an open tee time, it's going to be taken. I mean, there's not many gaps in play. When we're open, it, we get around 30,000 rounds a year, but it's a busy golf course. We do a lot of outings, tournaments. We usually hold the state open every year, hold a junior tournament every year, and a lot of little local things.
Hmm.
So it's a busy place. We try to stay open to the public as much as we can.
Yep.
So it's a busy golf course for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the demand for it is relentless. Like you said, every tee time is taken, 30,000 rounds plus tournaments plus outings. I mean, that means, and Mondays are typically when golf courses try to get maintenance done, try to get a little break from the public, and yet that's a big seller for corporate outings. So there's no rest for the weary at the Black.
No, no, it's like full go all the time. You always have to be ready, and it's it's a lot for the crew and myself, but we're kind of used to it. Been here long enough that we know what's coming. So it's a challenge, but we're up for it.
Yep, absolutely. Andrew, just, I know you gave us a little bit of your career path, but obviously Mike is in charge of the Black. You're in charge of as a director of agronomy for the property. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role and responsibilities in terms of for that? Is it just golf? Is it more than golf? Tell us a little about that.
Uh, yeah, so each of the courses here has a superintendent. I have a pretty good team in place. I mean, most of the guys have been here, I think, over 10 years. Like each superintendent's been here about 10 years now, and Mike's been here a really long time. So it's great to have guys that, I, for the most part, I just really have to make sure, there are some agronomic issues that I, stick my finger into here and there, and I know what I'm doing. But I also, it's great to have also so many guys who know what they're doing, and if I can give them the tools to succeed, that they're gonna, do the right thing, which is great.
Yeah.
Part of the reason for our success. I mean, and Mike mentioned 30,000 rounds in the Black as a facility. I think the past 2 years we hit over 250. So $250,000 golfers a year is a pretty cool statistic.
Wow.
There's a lot of golfers here. Yeah, we also, but in addition to that, Well, I had to run out the door because the tree company was here, so they were doing some pruning for the Ryder Cup coming up, and even Matt's part of where they go. They go to the polo field because we have to prune up some branches around the polo field for the buses that are coming into the VIP entrance. So
Got
we have a 10-acre polo field that also gets used. So maybe about 12 to 15 Sundays a year we have actual polo with horses, and then another 20, 30 days a year we have kids soccer out there. We have high school and college cross country. We have a picnic area with a couple of ball fields. We get a little bit involved in that. We work with some operations people too. There is like a clubhouse maintenance team that kind of does some of the clubhouse landscaping, and they'll help like when we have tournaments.
mm-hmm.
Bit of a team effort there because they have to set up the tables, tents, chairs, and make sure all the clubhouse grounds are looking pretty good. And and then it's just a lot of so there's definitely some collaboration there. And every little thing. We have a bridle trail. People walk their dogs, and we have horses kind of coming over there. So it's this year's a bit extreme with just people everywhere. Who's that guy? No, what's that truck doing? And that type of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, for the most, and we're open in the winter. I mean, if it snows out, the staff really doesn't like sleigh riding when we have it, just because it just seems like we have to, what should be a fun family experience, and sometimes we have to get a little heavy-handed with what type of sleds you can't use and stuff like that.
Right.
And we also have cross-country skiing, so it's kind of cool when you see some ski tracks out there going across the park. So whether it's the height of the summer, the dead of the winter, there's people around here, and the blue and yellow stay open all year. So if we get like that, it seems like every January and February we get some random 55-degree weekend, and then all of a sudden the blue and the yellow are doing 400 rounds, and people will tee off at 4 o'clock when it's getting dark out at 5:15. So it's nice to see this little bit of a resurgence since COVID for the golf market. So the junior program that the Pro Shop runs is really popular, so that's really cool to see see a lot of little kids running around too. Different energy. Sometimes it's like you wish they weren't running around, but it's a good energy to have around the place.
There's a lot going on there, and it's fun to see. I've seen it firsthand. So the Ryder Cup, so the PGA of America calls, assuming presumably you've gotten some heads up, but the PGA of America calls and take us through that first meeting, the first official meeting. What are you guys talking about? What decisions have to be made for you, Andrew, and for you, Mike? What's that collaboration like during that first meeting?
Well, the announcement was made in 2013. So, from then, I mean, we really didn't see a whole lot of them until I'd probably have to check my emails, to be honest. It was probably around 2016 or 2017 that Kerry Hay emailed me about, what's the weather like in May? And so then I started asking a few questions and, talking to Mike a little bit about that too. I mean, that was pretty exciting. I mean, the switch to May was like a godsend for us because we have stress every single August. We had 2 Barclays, and the course was kind of struggling at that time of year. POA in August is like a really tough time.
Yeah.
So when they wanted to go to May, that was great. I mean, that was POA is that's prime time for our grasses. And then Kerry would come around a couple of times a year before that, just to kind of get the lay of the land, and he does a lot of the. He talked to Mike and I about the agronomy part of things, but he was also very involved in where the grandstands are going to be, where the TV towers are, where the crosswalks are. So he would come around and walk the whole course with us, and it was great. We just discussed a lot of turf, and Mike can kind of expand on our walks around with Kerry, but it's been a really good relationship with the PGA of America. And then their tournament staff gets here. They'll have some tournament staff here maybe 2 years in advance. But a lot of that is more operational stuff, like they have to get permits for road closures and where they're going to park and some of that groundwork. And then about a year, it seems to pick up a little bit. And then about 6 months before is when it starts to get nuts.
Right. Mike, what's it been like for you since that announcement of those early walks with Kerry? And you've seen, let's say, maybe talk about cultural practices. I mean, now you've seen June with the U.S. Open, May with the PGA of America. Now you got September. Maybe talk about the nuances and the difference of cultural practices between those different seasons.
Yeah, it's having a tournament at the end of the season is much different than May. In May, we're just trying to get the grass to grow, and hopefully we get some warm temperatures and the soil temps warm up. Uh, Now the challenge is getting through this season, uh, blemish free, or as little blemishes as possible, and then but still being open and having a ton of play. You're going to have some wear and tear on the course, so
Sure.
uh, it's but we have some time to recover before the actual tournament, and maybe have to reseed some spots or do some sodding just from general, like I said, wear and tear. But working with the PGA has been great because we
It's the
I've
second time
experienced,
for you, so
yeah, so we experienced what it was like working with the USGA for the Opens, working with the tour for those events, and the PGA is a little different than all those other entities, and it's really one on one kind of with Carrie Haig, and he's a really easy guy to talk to, and he's pretty short and sweet and gets his point across with whatever he really wants to say or wants us to do. So I really enjoyed working with him, and yeah, walking the course with him is great, and seeing what he sees, and uh, now I know what to expect kind of this time around, but
right.
it's a little different tournament, so things might change a little bit.
No, 100%. You mentioned weather and trying to come out blemish free. This summer has been pretty brutal. I mean, we didn't have much of a spring, to be honest. It wasn't a very good spring. Then we went from basically essentially winter to summer. And within the last month or a couple, even not even that, maybe the last 3 weeks, we've had two major heat events, if you will, where we've had real feels of 104 temperatures. That doesn't even count the number of 90% days. What do you guys, and again, not to harp on it, but there's a relentless demand by the public. So you got your hands full. What were you guys trying to do as director of agronomy, superintendent? How do you mitigate those extreme circumstances?
Yeah, it's I mean, on my side of it, we're just trying to keep the grass alive and doing a lot of hand watering. Uh, but it's not like you said, the demand is there for the course. Just because it feels like 100 degrees, we don't see like a lot of people like, oh, I'm not going to play today. It's too hot. No, they still come out,
Yep.
and
Well, they waited online long enough. They're gonna come.
right, they're still playing. So every tee time is still taken. So it's busy, and uh, you really just do what you can to keep the turf as happy as possible. But the turf is very unhappy when it feels like 100 degrees.
Can you do anything? You know, you have so much. It's basically a championship day every day there, essentially. So But do you do anything different because you have the Ryder Cup coming up when it's 100 and real feels 104, and you have all these. The grass is not recovering at night because it's still 90 degrees or 80. Whatever it is. Would you do something different because it's the Ryder Cup, or are you just doing what you normally do anyway?
Uh, no, I'd say a little less aggressive. Definitely during the heat. Maybe you don't cut and roll every day. Maybe you just roll one day. Uh, it kind of watch that you're not mowing when it's super hot, the rough or fairways. Um, I like to say, kind of have the greens fat and happy. I'm not worried if they're, only rolling 10 and not, 12, 13,
Right.
because it's not the Ryder Cup today or tomorrow.
Hmm.
So we have time to get it to where it needs to be.
For some of our lay people that are listening, why not? I have a little bit of an understanding, but can you just explain why not? Why don't you want to cut and mow, and when those temperatures are like that? What's the problem with the grass there?
Well, just each thing you do to it is stressing out the grass. So, cutting it is a stressor to the grass, rolling it is a stressor. So anything you can reduce stressing the grass, because it's going to get stressed by the play, walking on it. Uh, Anything that I can do to reduce the stress before the play brings out more stress, that's what we try to do.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, with cool season grasses, 90 plus is not good. I mean, it's almost. I mean, after that, this past 2 days, like Tuesday, when it was like 97. I mean, we've worked with Frank Rossi from Cornell for a
Yeah.
long time, and I
Sure.
kind of think, man, he mentioned it to me years and years ago, and it's almost to a point where it's like above 95 degrees is almost as much of an argument to close than after like an inch and a half of rain, especially
Really?
for the grasses we have. Yeah, the Poa annua is a cool season grass, so above 90 degrees, it starts shutting down. And sometimes when, like mine and Mike's concern is, sometimes when you start to see that stress, it's really stress from like a day or two ago and not like the heat of the day.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
then it seems like it takes, you could have 2 or 3 days of stress that take, 10 days to recover from if hopefully if you're lucky. Like sometimes some areas get a little singed or a little hot. And if the course is closed, then well, yeah, then we got time to do some maintenance differently. But when the course is busy, or we have actually it was that last week of June, we had the AJGA here,
Right.
and it was the biggest day of their tournament where they had 36 holes. It was like 99 degrees. And again, with that end of the day, got to 101. And we really can't get out, and we did start to hand water a little bit in between rounds as much as we could. But sometimes when we have like scheduled events, that's when I have to start talking to the clubhouse about like, hey, we need to reduce rounds a little bit here, like we are for the past couple of weeks. We've only been having from basically like 8 to 1:30 with golf. Some days even 8 to 12:30. Today we closed because of the heavy rain yesterday. I would say if it wasn't a Ryder Cup year, we probably would have opened at some point, but there's just too much. There's too much a chance to have to kind of mess something up now. Like we got to try and reduce the unforced errors, and that's part of it too. I mean, we have about 18 days left, and we're closed 3 of them. So some golfers might, wonder why, but it really is like a cumulative effect. If anyone plays here locally, all you have to do is go to the first tee of the green course, and you can see just from the people walking and driving out for the past month and a half or so, there's it's basically hard pan almost like down the ground.
Right.
And that doesn't take that long to happen. I mean, we had an area because of the build out on the black course, we had an area on like near 18T. It was like 2 days where their construction crew had to drive on the turf a little bit, and it started showing up in 2 days. Like the grass was a little not happy, and in fact now, but it is we want to have a golf course that people can kind of come and enjoy, but it can't be a free for all.
No, 100%. Mike, when did you start implementing changes to the golf course? I mean, obviously, I played there less than, maybe it was a week ago or a week and a half ago. Obviously, the rough is a little down. It's the same kind of rough, but it's down a little bit. Whatever you can speak of, but when did you start the changes, and what kind of changes did you make?
The biggest changes are, a little widening of a few fairways, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Since the PGA 10 and 11 are a little wider.
Yeah.
And that was part of it is, from Kerry Hay kind of suggestion, and then his ride around with Keegan, kind of a strategy to have a little wider fairways. So they maybe bomb the ball out there and not worry about the rough.
Yeah, that's not a that's not a secret. The Americans always play wide courses, and obviously the RNA always pinches them at 300 for our guys when we're across the pond. So that's no state secret, so to speak. But yeah, so I did notice the widening of some of the fairways. I still missed the fairway on 11, but that doesn't, that's just a me problem. But yeah, any other subtle changes, or other than the rough and some of the corridors?
13 had another change where we redid the fairway bunkers, kind of moved them a little further from the tee and widened that fairway also. But other than that, it really not too much has changed. I remember hearing the comment that Keegan said he didn't want to be the guy that changed Bethpage. So it's he respects it a lot.
Yeah, he does have a lot of respect for it. And to be fair, I mean, no one really changes. I mean, the USGA did in 2002, let's say. I mean, they had to bring it up to speed with the modern game and at that time. But Bethpage Black has been Bethpage Black and will continue to be so in the near future. I'm just kind of curious. You guys have had all these historic tournaments and outings and tour events, and you've worked with all the major stakeholders, and I guess indirectly with the RNA included in with the Ryder Cup. What does it say for the long term? How do you see it impacting Bethpage State Park and the golf courses long term hosting the Ryder Cup in terms of its legacy?
Well, we're the fourth course to have all three. I think Oakland Hills, Oak Hill, and Medina are the three other courses that have had the PGA, the U.S. Open, and the Ryder Cup.
Wow,
I
that's
think,
a small list.
Yeah. I think Congressional and Olympic might be next, like the next two Ryder Cup spots. I mean, that might put them in the same club. So, yeah, I mean, for a state park to have that kind of company is pretty impressive. And yeah, hey, a lot of that's down to the work over the years from people like Craig and Mike and the staff here that have really built that page up and kind of kept it in great shape. And then some good park directors as well that they kind of give us the funding to really increase the shape to improve better term to improve the shape of the other courses as well, where we don't have the black courses like the shining jewel, and then the other courses where Anthony, you probably played here in like the 80s and early 90s. And,
Yeah.
I think in the springtime Bethpage was good, and in the fall Bethpage was good. In the summertime it was a crabgrass factory.
Yeah.
Or some of the areas that I remember like the 16th tee of the green course had like 20-foot shrubs all around it, and the tee was dirt. Or some of the spots like even on the first tee of the red was similar to that, and there was a lot of.
I remember when you couldn't get it was hard just to get your tee into the tee ground at Bethpage Black. I mean, it was rough in the 80s for sure.
Yeah. There were some good guys who worked here then, but they weren't officially trained. I mean, there were guys who would when I remember when I first came onto the maintenance side, there was the guy who was running the yellow course was retired sanitation. The guy who was on the green course was a retired electrician, and it was all like guys who had maybe had those like the union jobs where they retired at 55, and then they knew they still had another 10 years to work, and so they loved golf.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So there were no. Now every superintendent here has a degree in turf, and we have this year we have like 8 assistants on the black course, all from in turf programs. So it's great to have the education and the interest there to help us improve and move along, and hopefully we're not sure. We hear rumors that we're kind of engaging organizations to have more tournaments here, which would be great.
Okay.
And but to have like Mike and I are really lucky. We got to work with the USGA, the PGA Tour, and the PGA of America. So to have that perspective and experience of working with the different organizations, it's just and not in a. I wouldn't say one is far superior to another, but it's just different schools of management that give us
definitely.
Just different management styles or organizational styles that kind of put us in like, all right, like it was a bit of a drop off. Like the USGA was here maybe because they were so close. They were here like once a month for 2 years, and then the PGA Tour was like they were here in April, and then like, all right, we'll see you in August.
Right.
Right. They had to do a lot of reports in the meantime. Like they were pretty big on having reports and things like that, where the USGA would come here and they would do their own reports. So, and then now we're pretty much working with Kerry for the conditions on the black course. So, all good.
Talk about a resume builder. I mean, being able to be a part of all these organizations and working with them, it's just amazing because you learn a little something. They learn as much from you, and you learn as much from them when you deal with these organizations. Mike, just real quick, you've been at Bethpage for a long time, and I'm just curious with the advances in turf technology. I always like to ask my superintendents what has benefited the most in terms of innovation. What do you think is coming down the road, in that aspect?
I mean, I'd say, everything's gotten better, obviously, over the years. mowers have gotten more precise. Spraying, I mean, when I started spraying at my internship, I was using a tractor, and to turn the sprayer on, I'd pull a chain and pull a chain to turn it off. And now there's sprayers are advancing so far. We haven't gotten into GPS spraying here, but it's widely taken on a lot of golf courses around the country, and that's a big savings when you GPS spray and you're spraying only what you want to spray and not overspraying. So, really a lot of that mowing or irrigation has gotten a lot more precise. We've overhauled it on the black course as far as fairways and rough, and that's helped really all the services just having more precise irrigation.
Mm-hmm.
So really, all assets are all have gotten better, but from mowing to spraying to watering.
Sure. I mean, all the sensors have become so much more, accurate, and it's, like I said, I'm just kind of curious, Andrew, two things. One, does Bethpage State Park have any plans to get in on maybe or look at AI in terms of managing inputs? And two, what about any drone technology that maybe they want to invest in to sort of help monitor the golf course, monitor the property, and not just Bethpage Black?
Yeah, there are some companies getting into that now. The AI stuff, who knows? It's kind of interesting. I mean, I'll Google something and it's pretty accurate how crazy it can be. And like, how does this type of fertilizer react with, cool season turf? And AI comes up with a little bit of an answer, which is pretty unique.
Yeah.
There's a few other things like when you mentioned the sensors and the meters, like the moisture meters. I mean, that's probably what a lot of frequent golfers probably see the maintenance staff now is, you see a guy sticking this, 2-foot long thing into the turf all over the place to get moisture in their numbers.
Yeah.
That's kind of revolutionized things too, where 25 years ago we might have guys hand watering until 6 o'clock at night because you're just kind of waiting for it to wilt. And now if like, well, we're at 18% and it's on a certain day that might be good. You're good for the day.
Right.
So that's great. The drone spraying. It's pretty cool. I've seen some courses on Long Island start to use that for like the high rough. They'll send the guy out with a drone and he can start like just dotting the weeds where he sees them, which is pretty cool.
Right.
As a property, we have a little bit of trouble with that because of the Farm Republic Airport so close. We have a few no-fly zones actually.
Wow.
So depending on so like the side around Swamp Road, the shop side around Swamp Road, where 2 through 14 the black is on. A lot of times you can't even get a drone in the air. So. That might limit us in that regard. But some of the technology, but there are other companies that the satellite passes over every day and then they'll send you a reading of the whole golf course, like where some of it's funny because some of a lot of it's data, like how to collect data, and then is it going to be useful is another thing. So
right. It almost sounds like AI and those things wouldn't be. Well, AI could be useful on the property because you don't need as long as you have the regular sensors. The sensors can help you manage. AI would tell you which inputs can automatically activate or whatever the case may be. Any inputs that are needed. But the drones doesn't sound like if collecting data is the important part of the equation, and you can't do it with drones, then because of the no-fly zones, then it's almost useless.
Yeah, there are some things like moisture meters. The moisture meters are really cool, and we're kind of messing around with this. USGA has a moisture meter now with GPS on it, but we kind of have it where like you almost have to take well, currently they're like meter perfect, but meter perfect isn't how we do things. Then they're trying to get it to where it's like centimeter perfect, which that's really what we would need. So. If I'm taking a moisture meter with their app, it's really cool, but I kind of have to adjust my exact location on the phone. You can kind of adjust exactly where you are. So it's coming, but it's not there yet.
Right.
With the USGA also has that GS3 golf ball that we started playing with, where really the automation of the data is the nice thing that you take stimp readings and it uploads it to your phone. So say if I'm doing stimp readings on the black and Mike's got something else going on, and he can look at it at the end of the day and see like, oh, all right, that's kind of what the numbers for today. So so there's just a lot of data record keeping that's getting better, and even the companies will put out like models for disease pressure and evapotranspiration rates and all.
Right.
So it's increasing the science and reducing the art of the greenskeeping. But when you're talking about look, the pressure of keeping the black horse in great shape, if 99% of the golf course is in fantastic shape, that 1% gets noticed. I mean,
Sure.
it's like, if you have a 5,000 square foot green and 5 square feet of it are dead, like it's like you're a failure, and it's just such a small percentage. So, and it's alive. So that's every superintendent kind of knows what that's like. Every superintendent checking your phone for four different weather apps 7 times a day and all that. So the diligence still has to be there more than anything. So I'm not sure if that's going to get replaced anytime soon.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. And I think Mike can speak to this as well. I think no matter how much data you have and no matter how much technology, I always think just like the art of playing golf, I think there's an art to taking care of the property too. I don't think you have an intimate knowledge of the property, and each little piece of the property is like a little bit of a microclimate that you understand the nuances of. And yes, the technology will always get better, but Mike, there'll always be a certain art to taking care of grounds, wouldn't you say?
For sure. I mean, you have an eye for it, or you kind of don't. It's my assistant Ryan Murphy, we really look at the course the same way. He's been with me for 70 years now. So, we know every inch of the place. And if something's, out of place or doesn't look right, that's, that's not data driven. That's just
Right.
what we see. And
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So
100%.
the data is great, but it's almost you need to hire people just to collect data, and it's early on in the stages of that.
Yeah, and data is only data if you don't know what to do with it. So
Right.
then it's useless. Well, I just want to finish up with the property, Andrew. Tell me how the build out is a little. We don't have to go too much into it because I know we're running out of time. But how much the build out is much different than it was for the U.S. Open, the PGA of America. How is it different? Obviously, we have the big.
I gotta put on my glasses for this.
Obviously, we have the grandstand with the tunnel. So we now have a grandstand that goes from 18 to 1, and with a tunnel underneath for the players. But how much is the build out different from event to event in terms of U.S. Open, PGA of America, now Ryder Cup, PGA Championship, now Ryder Cup?
So in 2016, I went out to Hazeltine to see the Ryder Cup out there, and I was immediately struck by how big the build out was. Like it was noticeable in 2 minutes. You could tell it was bigger than the U.S. Open.
And you were like, "Oh my God, what
yeah, a little bit." And then the PGA Championship was comparable with the U.S. Open. That build out was pretty similar, but the Ryder Cup is. Then Mike and I went out to Whistling. I actually went to Paris to go to Golf National to see that too. And then Bethpage is really like blowing it away.
Really?
Yeah, the superintendents from Adair Manor, the next Ryder Cup, they were here this week, and they kept saying they were astonished at how big it was. Like they thought Rome was big. Like Rome impressed them, and then they got here and they were just didn't they couldn't put it to words. So. I was talking with one of the PGA of America employees, and he said they're probably about 1.75 times what we had for the PGA, so it's really almost double. So it's pretty nuts. So I have like a little fact sheet of 1.2 million square feet of carpet, 1.6 million square feet of decking, 8 double-decker structures, 2 triple-deckers. A couple of 40-meter wide structures. The merch shop is 75,000 square feet. 23 miles of like the red mesh fence, windscreen that's going to go on everywhere, 15 miles of ropes and stakes, almost 1 million square feet covered with like mats and gravel and stuff like that, all stuff that we have to on the restoration side that's going to fall onto our laps when they leave. I mean, just the generators and the power that they're bringing into the place. It just shows that the Ryder Cup is like really the most popular and the biggest event in golf. I mean, they're not building it for nothing.
Well,
They got interest.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it's the Ryder Cup in New York, so I mean,
Right.
That's you've got. They're going to capitalize on that. That's for sure. I mean, there's no question about it. So, Mike, you're a Pittsburgh guy. So and we all know the stories. Pittsburgh wasn't very kind to Jack Nicklaus when Arnold Palmer was in there. When they were battling for the Open. They can be a little tough. Andrew, you grew up on Long Island, and so what's the atmosphere? What are you expecting? What's it going to be? What do you guys anticipate? I know there's going to be a police presence. I know there's going to be plainclothes police officers. Are people being too dramatic, thinking that it's going to be a little rough, or what do you think?
I don't know. It always comes down to the individual, and if you have 100 people in a room, you're probably gonna have one or two people who maybe are a little too loud or too inappropriate, and so I don't know if it's a percentage thing in New York or it's just a volume where look, there's just 5, 10, 20 times as many people, so that seems like it might get amplified. The first tee, like even this week, there were a couple of at the first tee we're teeing off at 8 o'clock. And so by then, people have been waiting out all night. So there could be 30 or 40 people all excited to see the first tee. So, there were some guys, striped a drive right down the fairway, and a lot of people just started clapping for him before the ball even landed. So they were having fun that way.
Right.
Last year, Luke Donald was here, and I wasn't in the car with Luke Donald, but he was, riding around with a little wagon train. And we parked over by 17T, and we had our carts on the grass a little bit right off the service road there. And some guy was just driving down Rounds Farm Road and yelled at us to get the carts off the turf. So that was kind of funny. So I think that kind of got Luke Donald's attention. We're like, man, they yell at me from the road here.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully it's going to be loud and hopefully not too rude. But I mean, it's inevitable that someone's going to say the wrong thing.
Well, I mean, listen, let's not kid ourselves either. Like the Europeans aren't going to be. We have plenty of internationals in the metropolitan area. It's not when I say it's going to get rough. I don't necessarily mean it's partisan rough. It's the Europeans will be well accounted for here. Mike, you have at least you'll be lucky. You'll be behind the scenes, so you won't have to deal with too much stuff.
No, but it's I would like to experience that first tee one of the days if it works out that I could, because at Whistling it was a great experience. The Europeans do their chants, the Americans do their chants, and there's a lot of back and forth, but it's just passionate fans. I mean, New York is passionate about golf, Long Island for sure. Mm-hmm. And just like it, it's going to be like a Steeler playoff game or that kind of atmosphere where everybody's excited for it, everybody's passionate for it. But yeah, I think it's going to be loud, but there's always a few bad eggs. But I think overall it's just going to be everybody's excited for it. There's such build up to the Ryder Cup. That's the big difference with this tournament is I watch a lot of golf every week that they play, and it's amazing. For 2 years they mention the Ryder Cup. I mean, when you hold a PGA Championship or a U.S. Open, it's really, a week or two ahead of time that they start talking about it. But the Ryder Cup is like, man, they're talking about my golf course like every week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Bethpage is hosting a Super Bowl and the Super Bowl of Super Bowls. So in the golf world, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. I know, as we talked about, the weather has not been, our friends in terms of when it comes to agronomy. You finally get a nice day and you're stuck with me for a bit of it. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk a little bit about the ins and outs of the Ryder Cup. Mike Hadley, the superintendent of Bethpage Black, and Andrew Wilson, the director of agronomy at Bethpage State Park. Guys, thanks a lot so much for joining me today.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Anthony.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.